Good morning, afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us today. It's going to be another live stream here with Tenon Tours and our great partners in Iceland, Nonni Travel. And some of you may recognize, if you've been viewing a lot of our live streams over the course of the last several months, you'll recognize Caroline's face. And I will just let her introduce herself and we'll go from there.
Hello, welcome to this exciting talk about the current eruption that's happening live in Iceland at the moment, which is very exciting, current news. And I'm here today, and our colleague my colleague as well, Jonas, is here, Jonas Helgason, who is a top guide, knows an awful lot about Iceland and the geology factors around some of the questions you might have today.
Hello.
We're glad to have both of you joining us. Jonas, your first time joining us for a live event. Caroline joining us again. And we work with these folks quite extensively and in helping prepare for your best views and experiences throughout Iceland. What an exciting time to be in Iceland. I mean, not only can we finally visit there, we can travel there, we can go see this firsthand, but just the changes that are going on an hourly basis, minute by minute even, the landscape is changing just right before our eyes. Jonas, what kind of impact is this having on the local environment with this going on?
Hello, it's nice to be with you, and I'm really happy to tell you about my country and especially about the eruptions. Well, there are several things we have to keep in mind. Number one is that this eruption is a small one compared to some previous eruptions we've had throughout centuries, but still it's taking place very close to the settlements. And so far, it has only impact on the nature. There's no infrastructure in danger. There are no roads that have been covered, no power lines broken, no nothing like that. But we can expect it to go on. And if it goes on for weeks or months, or even for years, then we have some infrastructure like roads and even a town of 3,000 or 4,000 inhabitants that are pretty close. So it's exciting, but it's also a bit frightening to look at.
So I have seen pictures, and we're seeing different pictures now scrolling through, and the video literally at this second is not as exciting as some of the pictures, but like the picture there on the screen now where the lava flow is going through the valley. It's literally covering the valley forever, and it seems like it's growing pretty rapidly. Is that normal for the region? And maybe talk about the impact of the valley. And of course, I know at the end of the valley, there's the ring road is not too far away, and it looks as if it's moving that direction and not so slowly.
Exactly. This is one of the main roads, but even this road is broken. It is not closing off completely any settlements because they all have other roads, other options to go. But if it lasts for years, then you never know. Then the other main road, even the main road between our international airport, our only international airport, and the capital of Reykjavik, even that road could be closed. But then we are looking into the future, even some years into the future. But we know that an eruption like this, it can last for decades. It can last for, I would say, 20, 30 years. And then we have some really big problems. But at the moment, it's just beautiful. It's wonderful to go there to see it. And it's really worth coming to take a look. And we never know, as I say, how long it is going to last. But we are following from day to day to see what happens.
Speaking of going and seeing it, Caroline, you were there not too long ago yourself. What was your experience like?
I mean, when it hit the news that this was happening, it was, I mean, you know, normally in the newspaper in Iceland, it's sort of like Arctic fox kills sheep. You know, it's really not too spectacular. And then there was this eruption. And of course, we've had different eruptions happen over the recent years, you know. Eyjafjallajökull, which is really famous for stopping all the air traffic back in 2010. And then the last one we had a really massive eruption, but it was in the middle of Iceland in the highlands in 2014-15. And this was really frustrating because you couldn't go there. You know, it was really difficult, and it was banned because they couldn't monitor it. And, you know, there were flights, you could go by helicopter and plane, but that was it. And some journalists were allowed in, National Geographic. But yes, it was really frustrating. But we did luckily then go and see it by a flight, and it was absolutely spectacular. And when I flew over that eruption, it was almost like it was computer generated. It just didn't seem real. It was so orange. But of course, you're at a distance. And when this came out that it was really super friendly to go and see this, as in it was just 40 minutes from Reykjavik. I mean, this is sort of like Disneyland erupts on your doorstep instantly there. So the whole of Iceland was actually gripped with this. It became sort of eruption mania, I think, in that most Icelanders don't necessarily go out and about that much during the winter months when the weather's not great, but thousands of Icelanders in their droves trekked to this location. And actually the search and rescue teams who were monitoring the area, they were a bit overwhelmed because thousands and thousands of Icelanders went, and suddenly the car park, they didn't have car park facilities there, so everyone was just parking up on the roads, and it was chaos, and everyone was just going with their kids and dogs, and it's a family day out. And of course, this was back in March, April time. So the weather isn't great. And also it's still relatively dark. You know, you've got that darkness coming in around 7 o'clock. And yeah, so everyone around it was sort of making a mecca to go and see it. And I went with my family. I went with my daughter and son. We went at the beginning of April. So this was relatively when it was quite new. And it was also because everybody had been isolating, you know, with COVID. It was the first thing we'd done in ages where we were actually walking and there were lots of people around, obviously being sensible because we were still socially distancing. But there was a real feel. It almost felt like a festival. So it was very exciting. And walking along, and it was so nice actually to hear the different nationalities, because we've got a mix of people here, not just Icelandic. We've got people from Poland, Estonia, all sorts of places. And it was really nice to hear this hubble bubble of conversation, of excitement as you walked along this hike to get there. And you had to work at that point. Because it wasn't just get out of the car and go. So it was about a 3-kilometer hike each way. And yeah, it was breathtaking. You sort of got over the rise after making the effort. And then it was just there in front of you and you could touch it. I mean, not the actual crater, obviously, but where the lava flow was coming out, you could stand right by it, obviously being sensible. But we sat and we watched where this lava had busted out of this wall of lava, and it was just creating a mini river. And we sat in front of that for about 45 minutes, an hour, and it was just mesmerizing. It was just so, so pretty. And people were cooking on it, so hot dogs, marshmallows, sandwiches that were in tin foil, melting it, and the kids were all so excited. And you could hear it, you know, not only the rumble and thunder of the actual eruption that was right behind you, but you could hear the tinkling of the lava as it cooled. You know, it was just like an iceberg when it's singing, you know, when it's cracking. It was absolutely fantastic. So we were there for about 2-3 hours. I mean, you just didn't want to leave, but they were closing the site at around 10 o'clock because it took about 2 hours, hour and a half to walk back to the car. And obviously the search and rescue teams have to go home sometime, though they do always have 1 or 2 people on site. But what was lovely at that point, which is now we have the midnight sun, so you can be there at midnight and it's like the middle of the day. When we were coming back, we wanted to stay until the atmosphere changed, where the light dimmed and suddenly everything came into really sharp focus. And then everyone had these little hedge torches because you had to walk back along this marked trail in the dark. and everybody quite kind of worked together as a team. It was really nice. And I remember turning back and looking back over the valley as we'd just come out. And you could, I've got it as my screensaver. And it's the sky was red. The mountain behind us was black, and there was a trail of people. You couldn't really see them, but little lights walking in a line. And it just reminded me that it's just like little fireflies. It was just one of those. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. But my daughter, she's been back since, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, and she said that now it's like 10 times bigger. It's nothing like, so if you revisit, it's like you're doing it for the first time.
I totally agree with Caroline that this was, as a teacher of geology for 30 years, I had to go there in the very first week, of course, to see. And the most what I remember was that this was the first day for a full year where we completely forgot everything about this pandemic thing, and just standing there like a national festival with our lights and everything. And you also told them about this experience, and I remember seeing, walking back late in the evening, at the same time looking at an eruption, a full moon, and northern lights in the sky. That was something never to forget.
Wow, that's a triple trump.
You certainly had good fortune on your side that day. But I think the important thing to note is others can have this same experience. You can go watch history happening right before your eyes right now. Yeah. And that opportunity rarely presents itself. And Iceland is open to U.S. travelers, unlike some other places. But right now you can visit Iceland. You can go and see this for yourself. And it does look spectacular. I have not been there myself yet, but it is certainly on my short list. That's the thing that some folks can't always comprehend, is how close that you can actually get, like you were talking about, Caroline. And just the video on the screen is live. It's not incredibly active right now. We tried to schedule a lava eruption while we're on here, so hopefully it happens and the volcano gods shine down on us a little bit. But just one thing to note, that we do have a giveaway going on. If you go into the comments, the pinned comment at the top will provide the info, but we're giving away a couple of $250 gift cards towards travel to Iceland. So hopefully you can book a trip yourself to go see this firsthand and get your own pictures, your own memories, and go from there. The other thing to note is we're here to answer your questions about Iceland, about the volcano. Jonas is an expert in all things Iceland and geology, so we can pick his brain while he is here, and Caroline as well. So feel free to put your questions in the comments, and we'll keep the conversation going. Jonas, as we're looking at the video here, I was reminded about the lava flow, and I've watched a ton of different videos about this volcano now, and seeing the lava kind of expand. As a geologist, what does an event like this mean for someone in your field? What kind of reaction do you? I would imagine this is just incredibly exciting, because it's not often you get a test and do research on something that's live, that's happening now.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that even the webcams are not showing much activity at the moment. The activity is going on full power, but it's more or less underground. That is that the magma is just finding some channels through the lava just underground and breaking out in the valley further down. But then occasionally, like last night, when it breaks out, and it looks like a lot of gases are coming through from the mantle, and then like explosion, like we saw last night. There are things that we should keep in mind about Iceland, is that, of course, we have a lot of volcanic activity. As Caroline already told you, then only a few years ago, we had a huge eruption in the middle of the country. And I am 66 years old, and I have experienced 23 eruptions in my lifetime. But this is the second one that you can actually get so close. We had one 1975 where we could walk to the lava and look at it so close as this one. But then many of them take places under the ice caps or in the middle of the interior, in the middle of the winter. And many of them, they last only for a few days. Even we have had eruptions that only last for hours, but more normal is to last for weeks or months, and a few are going on for more than a year. The biggest one this century, or I should say the 20th century, in our lifetime, is the one that took place 1963. Then we have got a new island that was born south of Iceland, an island called Surtsey Island, you might have heard of. And that eruption was going on for 3.5 years. And looking at that one, and again at this going on now, I see a lot of similarities. So my wild guess is that we are going to have this going on now for a few more years. But as I say, the eruptions are very common in the country, and quite seldom they are affecting any infrastructure, but it happens. Like Caroline mentioned, the 2010 one with a beautiful name of Eyjafjallajökull. You might remember that one, where when it was blocking the air traffic all over Europe. That was more exciting.
And the video we were just watching there, that was from last night. I'd like to say, not So this is, even though the picture we see live at the moment, and most Icelanders just have this live stream on their television all the time. So, more interesting than television to a lot of people here, and they're just watching it. But this was last night. Like Jonas said, it had gone a little quiet for a few days, and then suddenly this enormous river that came out yesterday was so impressive.
It was spectacular. Just watching it live, it reminded me of whitewater rafting. Only the water here was lava. I mean, it was just incredible. It is really remarkable to watch. We did have a question come in, and came from Amy in Hawaii. So quite similar.
I will take this question. I really love this question because the answer is yes. We have these two types of lava, but then all kind of different things in between the two. But Pahoehoe and Aa or AA or as it's supposed to be called, we have this, and the lava flowing now is more or less of this Pahoehoe type. So after the eruption stops, then it will probably be easy to walk across. But talking about Hawaii, there are a lot of similarities between the activity in Iceland and Hawaii, because in both cases we are getting the magma almost directly from the mantle. We're getting thin floating basaltic magma with thin floating lava, and I have seen a lot of beautiful pictures from Hawaii when the lava is flowing across the roads and breaking the power lines and flowing into people's gardens. And this is what we are expecting within 1 or 2 years here in the south of Iceland, that we could see the same. But talking geologically about the two places, Iceland and Hawaii, the main difference is that Iceland is on a plate boundary where two plates are moving away from each other, when Hawaii is on the center of the Pacific plate. So, but the origin of the magma is quite similar, but the circumstances, well, these things are different in many ways. But both Hawaii and Iceland are situated on the top of magma plumes. That's what we call hot spots.
The the geography, well, the geology is the same, but the geography is quite different because of their placement in the tropical zone for sure. But I remember visiting Hawaii and seeing smaller versions of lava flows, much like this. Jonas, when looking at in the valley and we see this lava flow just kind of inching along day by day or hour by hour, it's moving pretty rapidly from a geological standpoint. How long before that can become habitable by some sort of wildlife, whether it's plants or insects or things like that? Does that take, I mean, decades, or are we talking just years? Just speak about that.
We are talking about years. Say maybe some 10 years, 20 years, then we will definitely see some mosses start growing on the lava. And this one in the southwest of Iceland, the precipitation is much heavier and much more than we have here in the northeast. We have here in the northeast, we can have a lava stream completely naked. I think of one lava stream in the interior that was from 1961. It's still almost completely naked, but that is more or less because of lack of rain, lack of precipitation. But in the southeast, we have young lava fields that are completely green, covered with moss and other vegetation after only 10 or 20 years. So this one, I expect it to be covered within a few decades, 20 years maybe. Then it will be green. And it helps, of course, that it keeps warm. So for the first year, if you have rainwater and you have the warm lava, the vegetation will start growing quite quickly.
This particular video that's playing now, I want to draw attention to it. You're looking at downtown Reykjavik, and it's on the skyline. So a lot of the videos, it seems like it's out in the middle of nowhere, but the volcano is very close to Reykjavik, and I think you don't have to spend a day traveling out to it. It is just a few miles away or kilometers. For those, so the proximity downtown is quite remarkable.
Yeah, but we have to keep in mind that this picture you're showing, then they are zooming in on the volcano. It is not so close, but on a clear night in March or April, when it was still darkness in the night, then it looked a little bit like this. Only short way to drive. For me and Caroline, it's 6 hours. We are in the north of Iceland. It's 6 hours.
We have to make an effort.
Yeah.
I'm actually going again this weekend. I'm going to go on Sunday. So I'm going to take a hike there on Sunday and see how it looks now. So I'm really excited about that. I fit to taking an extra day to do it just because would be crazy not to. But people also, when they're in the south, they can, if they're coming on holiday, it's good that they know they can go. If they're on a self-drive, then they can go, and then it's all very good instructions from when you get to the parking areas. Now it's very well managed by the search and rescue team, so it's very tourist friendly and safe. I'd like to, specify that. Obviously, they're expecting people to be grown up and use common sense. They haven't got the areas walled off, and there are search and rescue team members in the area, but it's not really a problem. I think everybody is pretty much respectful of what's going on, and also just feel very privileged that they have the chance to do this, and there aren't barriers or platforms put up or limitations that you can't. I don't know many countries where you could get so close to something like this on a day-to-day basis. It's been very impressive. But if you don't have a car and you're not on self-drive, you can also go on a sightseeing flight or helicopter tour, which is a great way to see it. And even though it's not erupting at the moment, from the aerial view, the inside of the crater that you can see there is bright orange. So you can see that from the air. And then also you can join tours. So you can go with a guide, small group tours from Reykjavik, where they have transfers to and from the capital. And also then if you wanted, you can organize a private tour as well with if there's 4 of you that want to go, then, there are all options.
There's one thing I would like to add to this. If you are planning to come and visit and hike to this eruption, spend 2 or 3 days in the south and pick the best day to go there. Yeah. Because going there, it's a bit above sea level. It can be foggy, and look carefully at the weather forecast and pick a day when it is windy. It's important because the gases can pile up and the gases can be dangerous. So my advice is to spend 2 or 3 days and pick the best day to go there and pick a windy day and make sure it's not foggy or raining. It's not worth it.
If the gas emissions, though, Jonas, are high, the search and rescue teams, they do shut the area, don't they? They are monitoring it with counters, and so it's not something that you can turn up there and suddenly find out you're in danger. They won't let people in if they're worried about the conditions, and also if things start to change, then they clear the area, and they've done this several times, and they've done it really effectively. So people shouldn't be worried that this is dangerous. And I said all ages are going. When we were going, there were people in their 90s being helped along by families and babies in arms. So it's and as like I said, a few dogs. It's a family affair.
Yeah.
And this part of Iceland, Iceland's not a big country geographically speaking, but in this part of Iceland, doing exactly what Jonas suggested, spending a couple of days there are no shortage of things to do. There are plenty of activities that can be partaken in, whether it's watching the wildlife or various waterfalls, all sorts of things to see and do in the region. But just going back to visiting personally, Caroline, what can folks expect once they arrive? Say it's a self-drive, they drive to the site. What can they expect? How long is the hike to get to where they're actually seeing something?
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I went in April, it was further away because the actual eruption site, even though it was very active, was smaller. But now, actually, it's a lot more. The hike is less, so it's about 1.5 kilometers. It's been a marked trail now, and they have put gravel down on many sections. When I went, it was muddy and, lots of uneven terrain. But even so, it's not difficult. There is a couple of rises, but now again, the rise has been taken by the lava. So it's suitable for all ages. It just goes slow and steady. They have car parks, allocated areas when you get there. It's about 1,000 krona to park your car, and this money goes to the search and rescue teams. The landowners are doing this, who own the land, in order to support the search and rescue, because obviously their overheads are expensive for being there all the time to make sure people are safe. And then once you get to the hike, once you've complete the hike, you are literally on site. So then it's entirely up to you how long you want to be there. So at an easy pace, you can be there in about 45 minutes. Would you agree, Jonas? At the moment, it's about that walk time. It's shorter.
Yeah, it's a bit shorter. It's getting closer and closer to the road. So
yeah,
I believe that now it is maybe 1 kilometer. That's only 20 minutes hike to see the first part. But of course, if you want to take a look, you should spend a big part of the day and to explore a little bit more, even to climb some of the hills around and wait to see if you get an explosion in the crater like we had last night. If you have good luck, you might see something like that. So plan to spend a big part of the day. Even the hike is the first part of the hike to the first lava is on level ground, completely flat. I would guess 20 minutes. But then spend some hours. Just look at it.
I think.
And as
take some snacks.
Listen to it. Listen to the sound of the floating lava.
It is phenomenal. And I think it's also, when you get there, you get drawn in because it is mesmerizing. And it is this fact that when I was there, it was literally just cascading and bubbling the whole time. And suddenly a great big hive of activity would happen far away from where the crater was. But now it is different. But I think also in that way, then, you know, to go there and just be, and you are in the nature, it is stunning where the eruption is happening. And, you know, the weather's good, you've chosen a good time to go. It's just really nice to take that time and experience nature at its roughest, you know, as it's happening. It's and it's unexpected. And if that blows when you're there, like it did yesterday, I mean, you're just never going to forget it. But the whole experience, you're on a live eruption site, and it's very exciting.
And I would expect that is more impactful than even one of the seeing it by air, like a helicopter ride, because you feel it. I would imagine you're feeling the heat coming off. You're hearing the various sounds, and it's just hitting all of the senses. Whereas seeing it in a helicopter, you don't necessarily get all of that.
They do a touchdown with the helicopter, so you get about 20 minutes on site. Okay. So you do get time to go up and see it and hear it and take a souvenir.
Now, just at the car park, are there facilities at the car park or no?
Yes, they have portaloos, and they also have a number of pop-up wagons there where people can get refreshments. Okay. But to be honest, it's 45-minute drive from town. It's really no biggie. But yes, there are facilities there. They have been catering for that. But again, you're sort of 15-minute drive from Grindavik, which is a small town where they have restaurants and places. And then you're just 25 minutes actually away from the Blue Lagoon. So go to the eruption and then go and relax in the Blue Lagoon afterwards. You've got a double whammy there, which is really nice.
It is very, very accessible. The airport is nearby. Reykjavik's not far. The Blue Lagoon is nearby, and there's numerous activities in that part of Iceland that can be done. And remind me, Caroline, when do the puffin watching? When is that?
Yeah, puffins are happening now. They arrive around May. They've been out at sea all for the winter. It makes me laugh. These little birds just stay on the water. It seems ridiculous, but that's what they do. And then they come to land in May. They start building their nests, and then they're here until the middle to end of August. So puffins are here, and we've got whales that are migrating, so they're coming around. You can see those on whale watching tours from Reykjavik and several different locations around the island, Snæfellsnes, and also from Akureyri and Húsavík. So lots of things to see. Yeah, but the puffins are here. And I was out in the west just visiting my daughter a week or so ago, and they are just so comical to watch. They call them the clowns of the sea, and they look like little orange feet, and they sort of panic when they fly, and then they're so colorful, and they sit there and they know you're watching you. And I was watching my daughter creep up on these puffins to watch them, and I've just got these brilliant photographs of me watching Lilia, watching the puffins, and the puffins watching Lilia, and also watching me, thinking, what the heck's going on here? So yeah, they're there.
Sounds like you're saying that now is a great time to visit Iceland.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I heard. Jonas, when you have a volcano like this that's continuously having this lava flow that's much like a river and invading more and more area, what kind of an impact does that have on the wildlife?
On wildlife, not so much, because number one, there is no real big wildlife in Iceland, only few mammals. And the birds, of course, they can easily get away. So at the moment, to repeat, this is a small eruption compared to some other eruptions we have had. But it is, I think, at the moment, it's no real impact on wildlife. Vegetation, there's no big vegetation in this area. No forests, nothing like that. So I was not expecting this question. I'm sorry, but no big impact on wildlife. But we have had eruptions that with a lot of airborne material, a lot of gases that have been killing vegetation. But in this case, that it's nothing. It's nothing, not so far. But of course, if it goes on for decades, then it might have more impact. But this is nothing people are worried about. People are more talking about the infrastructure, the road that is probably will be covered within a few days, and then some fiber optic cables and so on and so. But the wildlife, no, nothing to worry about.
That's good to hear for certain. The infrastructure that could be impacted, I mean, the one thing that I've noticed throughout all of this is how quickly the local authorities are creating roads and access. And like Caroline, you'd said that the first time you went, it was just kind of walking on the dirt, and now there's like gravel road going all the way to it. I imagine they're doing lots of testing. I did see where they tried to build a wall, an earth wall, to kind of deter the lava. That it seemed to slow it down for a couple of seconds, but
it's worth a go.
Yeah, Mother Nature seems to kind of just do what she wants whenever she wants. But the access to viewing the crater and viewing the lava flow is ever changing, so it is adjusting. But Jonas, sounds like that we can expect to be able to view this at least for the coming weeks and months to some degree.
But we also we have to keep in mind that this is nature. So you never know what happens. This could end tonight. We never know. But I do not find it very likely, because geologically speaking, the magma is coming from very deep down. It is actually looks like it's coming directly from the mantle, instead of, for most of the volcanoes, they have so-called magma chambers in the crust that are filled in like a balloon, and then it empties and the eruption stops. But in this case, it looks like it has a direct flow from the mantle itself. And then, of course, we have endless source of magma. But I'm trying to say, like all the other scientists that are on the television, they always say, nobody knows. I cannot tell nothing. I have no idea. There's no way to expect, no way to predict. They always try to be very careful. But this is nature. You never know what happens.
That is very true. And as much as you can plan, the plans always change when nature is involved. The important thing to note is Iceland is open. Iceland is welcoming travelers. Currently, we've already had some customers there and have lovely experiences this month. And it is open, ready for visitors. We're ready to welcome you and build the itinerary that you want. I did want to mention again that the contest is going on, so the comments are pinned at the top for the link to join the contest. We also want to let you know that we have a live stream next week on July 7th to announce some new and exciting news regarding Greece. So join us next week at noon. The live event is ready to be registered. You can find it on our homepage and on the Facebook account. Caroline, Jonas, it's been a pleasure having you join us today. Thank you so much for taking the time in your evening to share these experiences with us. We were hoping for a little different experience on live video, but we got to see some pictures, and anyone can watch the live stream on YouTube. There's a few different cameras strewn about the landscape, so you can watch yourself and catch that next eruption. So Caroline, thank you. Jonas, I appreciate you joining as well.
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been really nice. Good to share this. You know, it's different when you've been there and you can just relay a little bit more information than you see on the television or through a news article. You know, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and from me, just you're so welcome, and I hope to see you in Iceland, and not only in the south. I hope you take a tour around the country and also visit the beautiful north of Iceland. Thank you.
We are here to cater to whatever desire or needs that you have in Iceland, along with our partners, and we do extend a warm welcome to Iceland for you. So thank you all for joining us today, and We hope you have a wonderful weekend, and be sure to join us next week with the exciting news about Greece. All right. Ciao.
Thanks. Bye.